What is our first main topic today?
John, our first main topic comes to us from Thor's Pliars. Hey, team, big fan of the show and also a big fan of Rick and Morty. By now, we all know about the charges being brought against the show co-creator, Justin Roiland, and that he's been removed from his shows. But I just saw the article that lays out all the rest of the stuff that no one was talking about. He never showed up for work. His relationship with Dan Harmon hasn't been on speaking terms for years, bringing porn stars to the writer's room, and so on. My question is, how did all these red flags go ignored for so long and only end with him being fired now?
All right, Thor's Pliers, the tragically overlooked tool in Thor's toolbox. Yeah, I saw that report. Did you that the Hollywood Reporter story?
Yeah.
It is alarming. Now look, there's a lot of what's the salacious sort of stuff in it. Nothing that I would go, well, this guy needs to be fired. Maybe action needed to be taken, but maybe not, except for one thing. And I'll get to that in a second. But in this Hollywood Reporter story, and that they just did, kind of outlining everything. You can bring that webpage up there, Jonathan. In this Hollywood Reporter story, that they call Inside the Implosion of Justin Roiland's animation empire, they go through a kind of a detailed thing, not of the, assault charges that he's facing. It was all about stuff that has been going on up until now. And they highlight things like him and Dan Harmon's, their relationship completely deteriorated. It got to the point that they weren't on speaking terms anymore. Parading around porn stars into the office, which I know some people are going,
guilty.
That's so
Wow, there's nothing a writer's room needs more than porn
Ray's
stars.
like, that's called a good boss right there. But, that and, bringing dogs into running remote control cars around, all this kind of stuff. There's a whole bunch. It even got so bad that it got to the point that the story details that Dan Harmon, the studio had to bring in mediators to try to fix the relationship between Dan Harmon and him. And apparently Dan Harmon, according to the story, if you believe the way the story is written, the way it was researched, Dan Harmon was like all business. He goes, we gotta make great stories. We gotta do whatever. And Justin Roiland was just wanting to draw pictures of penises with, fangs or whatever. And it's just, I guess Justin didn't find, work fun.
Yeah.
Now, all that stuff, all those are red flags. And all these are things that probably the studio should have stepped in and maybe not removed him, but should have stepped in and say, hey, we need some corrective action here. This isn't a good way to run this business. The part that gets me, and this is only a reflection of me and the things that I value, was the most damning piece of information in this article was the dude didn't show up to work. I cannot abide people without a strong work ethic, because there are other people that are showing up and busting their asses to try to make their business a successful business for everybody. And then you get somebody who's supposed to be one of the bosses half-assing it. They said it started with just, would just sit in the back of the room, of the writer's room, and not contribute anything. And then eventually just stopped showing up. Just wouldn't even show up. And when the odd occasion that he would show up into the office, he wouldn't go anywhere near the writer's room. He would go into a sound booth, record his lines of dialogue. He essentially just became voice talent at some point. And again, I can only speak for myself, but work ethic to me is everything. If you don't do the work and you don't put in your blood, sweat, and tears, and you don't bust your ass to try to make something to make your team as successful as possible, I ain't got time for you. And to me, if I had been a part of that network and had been a part of that organization, I'd see all these other things, yes, and I'd say these are troubling, these should be addressed, yes. But the part that would make me go, stop everything. This dude's not even showing up to work. This guy's, we're asking everybody else around here to try to make this thing happen. That tells me so much about your character. Because listen, I'll be honest with you, a little inside baseball here. I'm not going to give names. But there are people I have worked with I didn't necessarily love.
What's up? What's up? Here for my free streaming.
So there are some people I have worked with, no present company, that I have not exactly been their biggest fan, but they had a strong work ethic, and they would come in and they would work and they would do their best to try to make the team succeed. And it's like, as long as you do that, you're okay by me. Like you're good in my books. If you want to come in here and try to help everybody be successful by really doing your part and putting in the work, you're good with me. You're in my good books, right? Totally. I could never abide that sort of thing. And of course, all this article is aside from the far more serious stuff about the criminal charges that are coming. But I mean, in terms of what should have set off a lot of red flags, that maybe something like this should have been addressed and dealt with, and maybe even had this guy removed a long time ago. You take all these other things that were flags, but the big one to me is you're not showing up to work. You're not showing up to work. You're not putting in the effort. You're not busting your ass. Everybody else around you is busting their ass trying to make something that's successful for everybody to enjoy the benefits of and for everybody to reap the rewards. And you're doing nothing, and you're supposed to be one of the bosses. I mean, that to me tells me this is a situation the network should have addressed a long time ago before it even got to this. Anyway, Rob, there's a lot of stuff in this article that you read through as well. What are the things that stand out to you?
Well, first of all, I have a lot of friends that work in TV. And one of the things that any television writer will tell you, that a writer's room is in a way a holy place. and it needs to be a place where people feel the ability to be creative, but you also need a strong leader that knows when great ideas are there, knows when people should be heard. And I would imagine on a show like Rick and Morty, or any animated show, for instance, you have to be able to foster an environment with your writers that they can throw out ideas that can be summarily rejected immediately. You can be laughed at, but at the same time appreciated. And you need leadership. That's the basis of any great TV. And with Rick and Morty, I mean, can you imagine, John? We throw out jokes around here, but imagine if your TV show lives and dies by how funny you all are. And being funny can be hard. And when you're around people that are competitively funny, well, that can go south real fast. You want to kill each other. That's why somebody needs strong leadership. And like you said, it goes along with that work ethic. If in the entertainment business, a work ethic is everything. That's literally a business. If you're on set, every second on a set has a dollar value associated with it. Tick, tick. It's $5 a second.
Yeah.
And when you're making something, it is vital. And that's why people work with who they trust. Sometimes people even sacrifice a little bit of talent to work with people they know will show up and get the job done, because people that are hard and difficult to work with cost you money, they cost you time, they cost you a lot of things. And I can't even imagine the fresh hell these people had to go into every day to work. For a show like on Rick and Morty, you should walk out of there smiling. You're like, oh my God, we're working on Rick and Morty, one of the most unique and interesting shows on TV. And this is the workplace environment. Look, man. And by the way, this kind of thing goes on. It's not unique necessarily in the entertainment business. And success allows people like this to continue and get their bad behavior is not necessarily dealt with immediately. And I hate hearing these stories because it's what gives Hollywood a bad reputation. And you know what? My experience has been, especially in production, that's a pretty great place to work if you have the right team of people. And this guy sounded, man, toxic.
Anyway, guys, question is for you. Have you had a chance to see this article that's in the Hollywood Reporter? It's actually really interesting, but you're right. I mean, for me, it raises a lot of flags that this guy should have been dealt with a long time ago. Maybe you don't agree, or maybe you thought even harsher than I do. Whatever you guys think, jump down to the comments section below and let us know your thoughts. Guys, we want to thank a sponsor of this video, Rocket Money. The average person has around 12 paid subscriptions. Think about that.
If you think you're only subscribed to a handful of services, you might want to double check. With Rocket Money, you can quickly identify and cancel all of your unwanted subscriptions. Rocket Money, formerly known as Truebill, is a personal finance app that finds and cancels your unwanted subscriptions, monitor your spending, and helps you lower your bills all in one place. Rocket Money will quickly and easily identify your subscriptions for you so you can stop paying for the ones you don't want and don't even use. Simply find the subscription you don't want and press cancel, and Rocket Money will cancel it for you. No more long hold times with customer service or tedious emailing back and forth. Rocket Money makes canceling subscriptions as easy as the click of a button. My wife Ann and I moved out of Burbank 2 years ago, and one of the first things I discovered when I loaded up Rocket Money was that I was still paying for a gym membership I haven't even been to in Burbank in 2 years. So stop throwing away your money. Cancel unwanted subscriptions and manage your expenses the easy way by going to rocketmoney.com/Campea. That's rocketmoney.com/Campea. rocketmoney.com/Campea.